And here's the important message that all of the officers that we like to give to our young scholars. Our job and what we do is we want to make sure that all of our schools are safe havens. And that's each and every school. Each student should have the right to come to school to be able to get a good education without interference from being bullied, teased, picked on, being afraid of another individual or other persons or anything of that magnitude. This is why we work so hard at what we do. We want to make sure that our schools are safe havens. And if you find yourself going through something, please, you want to make sure that first you tell your parent, second you tell an adult, tell a staff member, let them know what's going on so they can be aware of the situation. And if it's not you personally, but let's say your friend is going through something. If this is your friend and you consider them a real friend, you wouldn't want your friend to be going through any nonsense. So we're not saying to put yourself in any harm's way. There are things that you can do to help your friend and remove or try to help remove them from a situation. When I was in school, I had a bunch of family members and friends that were always getting in trouble. And I'd love to speak on this because I know there's so many kids that go through this. What kept me grounded was one, I always had sports. Sports was my outlet for me. Sports kept me out of trouble. My cousins, family members, I'm talking about brothers, first cousins, my close friends, the ones that were getting in trouble, and I was with them at the time, you get the sixth sense about you. When your hair starts standing up on the back of your neck, that's your natural instinct that's telling you that something's not right and you may want to distance yourself. Pay attention to that. Pay attention to that because that's your natural ability to tell you there's something wrong. And when I got that, I knew that I wasn't the one. I didn't want to get in any trouble. So I left them. I said, yo, peace, guys. I got to break out. I used to tell her, I got homework to do. I got a game on Saturday. So I was out. I left them. Family, yeah, I left them. And they were good with that because they understood that I really wasn't about that life. I wasn't about banging and doing all the nonsense that they were doing. They were family, they were friends, I was cool with them, but sometimes you have to put that separation between them. And you have to be a bigger person to be able to do that and recognize it. So that peer pressure from friends and family, that's something that you gotta learn to cope with. How do you get away from that? For me, it was just something that I had to do. Something that I had to do. This is deep. My first experience with bullying personally was me. I was bullied as a kid, and it happened when I was in the sixth grade. And it's weird because that's when bullying becomes, I don't know what it is, but bullying is popular when it comes to middle school, and that's unfortunate. It's unfortunate. And when I was in the sixth grade, I ended up getting very, very sick. I had to go in the hospital for a couple of weeks. I got sick and they diagnosed me with type 1 juvenile diabetes. I ended up coming out of the hospital and I went back to school, and there were these twin sisters. I won't say their names, but they were twin sisters that just ragged me for the rest of the year. So this happened halfway through the school year. And for the remainder of the school year, I was being picked on, teased for being a diabetic. They were calling me names every day. They were calling me things like pin cushion, dope, diabetic fiend. I mean, they were just being me, being me. And one thing it taught me was that I had to develop thick skin. I had to develop some thick skin. Because one thing, even though you might not be going through it, somebody that you know might be going through it. And if you talk about it, it brings awareness to the problem, awareness to the situation. And it might help somebody that's listening that might be going through it. It might give them some options on how to better the situation if they are going through it. That's why we like to talk about it so much.
I think it's also
Because
important to understand your self value, because oftentimes when we're bullied or somebody's bullied, our self esteem goes down. We think we're less than. A lot of the times we're getting bullied because of something that looks off. Like Mark mentioned earlier, he was getting bullied because he was sick. And a lot of kids, they'll say they're being bullied because of something that, yes, doesn't seem like it meets the cool um, factor. So just understanding and being cognizant of like who you are, your worth. You are one of the better. You're part of royalty. Just understanding that regardless of whatever it is that anybody says, know that you are one of the best. You're on the winning team. You're a winner. Keeping that positive mindset, not letting anybody tweak that for their own benefit is absolutely essential, because there's going to come a point in time in your life where, yeah, you're going to be by yourself and everything's falling upon and everything, the sky's falling on top of you. And the only thing you're going to have is that mentality, that positive mindset, that strong mindset that, you're royalty, you're a king, you're a queen, you're in God's favor, all of the above. You're blessed. So you got to have that. That's very key and essential in dealing with, a bully or a bullying type of situation.
What do you think students can do for like us students to like be aware of bullying and how we can stop it?
excellent question. Excellent question. So for the students, you all are probably aware of a friend or another student that might be going through something before we catch wind of it. So all you have to do is just look at the signs. If you see one of your friends that's normally active and playful and always happy, and all of a sudden, they might seem withdrawn or depressed, non-talkative, kind of seclude themselves away and distance themselves away from others. I mean, that might be a sign that something's going on with them, that someone might be picking on them, or even if you see one of your friends that might have an unusual abrasion or bruise or something like that, or if you catch wind that something happened, because everyone talks, as they say, the streets talk, and you all hear it before we do. So don't be quiet about that. You have to speak on your friend's behalf. You have to say something to somebody, anybody. Let someone just be aware of the situation that these students are going through. You gotta want to help that person. You gotta want to help yourself. If it's you, tell somebody. If it's a friend, tell somebody. That's the biggest thing you can do. If you see a sign that there's a friend in need, exactly, use your voice. A friend in need is a friend indeed. Exactly. If that's your friend, you're going to want to help your friend out. So tell a staff, tell a parent, tell an adult, someone that can, push the right buttons and see how can we help that person. Because we want to make sure that person is all right.
Bullying is a big thing. Like I said, it happened to me in high school. The one thing I always said is I was always scared to speak up. So I know it's hard to speak up because my solution was just to get in a fight. And I didn't want to make my parents, I know that would make my parents upset. So it was hard for me being young to go to that adult outlet. So I just shut down, I just shut down as a kid. So I know, like Mark said, having that outlet, I was sports as well. So you would see it on the basketball court, working out, anything positive, because my solution was always, I just got angry. And if you pushed me to the limits, I wanted to fight. And like Mark said, if it's a girl, you're not going to fight a girl. I was a girl. My mom, I never wanted to disappoint my mother. So this is a big situation, like Mark said, in middle school, because that's what happened with me in middle school. And you just kind of want to mind your business. You only can get your buttons pushed so much. But I'm glad, like Mark said, we made the decisions we did. And having this being discussed at this age, I didn't have this in school. We never had a lecture on bullying. We never had this type of thing. So the point that 3Point, you guys are always bringing up these real topics that we never had: mental health, bullying. So the young people, I'm glad that you are dealing with this now, because you guys at 3Point are bringing real life topics that, like I said, we usually you don't talk about it kind of when we were younger. And it gets to you. You can't avoid it. So I just want to praise that what you guys are doing in this program. I'm just always amazed at the topics or the guest speakers that you have. You guys really keep it real. And I'm just so proud to be part of this partnership.
Just remember, when you leave your house, remember, you're not just representing yourself. Okay? There's a few things other than yourself that you represent. And this is the village, all right? It starts with you. You're first. You represent yourself. Yes, that's true. You represent your family. That's second. You represent your school. That's third. You represent your community. That's fourth. And the last thing you represent is your culture. And I'm going to give you an example for each one. And I'm going to do it in a way that you'll understand it. And I'm going to use myself. Let's say I leave the house and I'm doing something wrong. The first thing people are going to do is they're going to point their finger and they're going to say, look at Mark. He's always getting into trouble. Representing myself. Now I'm being pointed at because I'm a bad kid. Your family. People will look at you and be like, okay, that's Doris's son. He's always getting in trouble. Look at what he just did. Representing your family. You don't want to do anything that's going to bring your family down. So it's you, your family, then it's your school. A lot of schools, you all wear school uniforms. So people can always identify you by your school uniform. Or if you're getting out of school and you're walking home and you're walking down a certain street and you all are cutting up and fighting, they're gonna point their fingers and be like, okay, look, and I'm just using my school as an example, but it could be any school. They're saying, okay, here those kids go from the Washington Irving. They're always fighting after school. See, look at them, they're animals. Representing your school. Another thing, after the school is your community. Don't give people the reason. They're gonna look at you like, oh, those are them kids from Dorchester. They're always getting in trouble. They're always starting mess. And the last thing is your culture. And that's one of the big things. Because people always like to look, especially because, so many people get their phones out. They're putting everything on social media. So when they see kids acting up, they're looking at them. Oh, look at all those minority kids. Still fighting. Still fighting. So you represent yourself, your family, your school, your community, and your culture. All of those things. There's 5 things. You put it together. That's the village. All right? Don't give people a reason to point their finger at you in a negative manner. And one saying I always like to say to people, this is huge. People will always remember you for your character. They will always remember you for your character.